Hey, welcome back. This is Rick Garza with episode 56, here to talk to you about the character and the habits and the life of a professional sales athlete. Step back for a moment and let's just review quickly for those who may be new to our video podcasts that if we look at what we expect a professional athlete to do, all of the attributes and efforts they took to get to that status of professional athlete, those same things apply to us as professional sales athletes. The character traits, the habits, and the lives that they led to get them to that opportunity. And that's what we're talking about. How do we get to that opportunity to become a professional sales athlete? Well, one of the character traits that is critical to your success and mine as a professional sales athlete is creativity. You see, creativity is looking at a need, an idea, or a task, or a problem from a completely different perspective. But before we take this creativity and make it look like it's a very complex thing, I'd like to step back for a moment and remind you and me how simple life really is, and how from viewing things from a very simple but yet creative perspective, many different things can come from it. For example, there are only 7 major notes in music. Only 7. And yet from those 7 and their derivatives, the minors and the sharps, have come all the wonderful symphonies and music that has ever been written, has been written, or will be written. And there are only 26 letters in the alphabet. And yet from those 26 letters, the greatest stories of tragedy and of triumph and of love have been written, are being written, and will be written. The fact is, every day you and I have a chance to be creative and leverage the simplicity of life and look at it from a different perspective and become creative. Think about the problems that you're dealing with, and as long as you have the right mindset and you flush out the words of can't, impossible, never been done, it's too hard, it's too difficult, get all of those out of your system and step back and say, how can I look at this task from a different perspective? If I have a quota to meet, how can I achieve it in a more effective way than how it's been done in the past? There's a gentleman by the name of Frederick McKinley who back in the early 1900s was born in not the best of situations and ended up at the age of 14 just going on his own. But growing up, he never knew the word impossible. And he always looked at things from a different perspective. And God did grant him a much more creative mind maybe than most others. But just because you have a creative mind, if you don't apply it, it doesn't always turn out to your benefit. Well, Frederick took his creative mind and took the situations he had. And at the age of 14, he got hired on at a shop. And while he wasn't trained, didn't have the skill sets, he read the books. He looked over the shoulders of those who were already certified in the mechanics of the job that he was at. And by the age of 15, he was the foreman, and he was fixing cars, making race cars, creating things that people hadn't even thought of. So much so that he had 60 patents by the time he went on to be with the Lord. But there was something really unique that I'd like to tell you about Frederick McKinley that took a situation, and that was back then when trucking transported food or vegetables that were very, very fragile. They filled their trucks with ice and salt in order to preserve them. Well, he was living in Minnesota at the time, and it wasn't too far from where he was working that a truck broke down and all of the poultry went bad. They lost everything. He heard about the situation and he stopped to think about things and looked at it from a different perspective, and he created the first refrigerated truck. And it wasn't too long after that that the supermarkets and the transportation industry revolutionized because of that one person, Frederick McKinley, looking at things, the problem, the situation from a whole different perspective and said, why can't we do this? And he took his past experiences of working on cars, working on refrigeration, working on a lot of different components in different scenarios and said, why can't I make something unique? Much like a song or much like a book. Why can't I create something that's never been done before? And he did it. So I want to challenge you as you walk out the door this morning, or as you knock on that first door, or look at the requests being made of you. Think of Frederick McKinley, who had nothing but yet a creative mind and a willingness to try to work things out. Think of athletes who you look to see, how do they do that? The same thing, they were creative. You and I can be the best professional sales athletes that we've ever dreamed of by being creative. So I challenge you, go out today. This is the first day of the rest of your life. Let's go make something happen for you and me, and let's be creative. Have a blessed day. Bye-bye.